Radiohead, the popular band for people who do not like having sex. That virgin joke is old and overused, isn't it? I'm sorry. Anyway, Radiohead is one of the most popular and critically acclaimed bands ever. From Oxfordshire, formed by Philip Selway, brothers Colin and Johnny Greenwood, Ed O'Brien, and last but not least, the guy with the funny eye. See what I did there? Tom York. With their first full-length album being released in 1993, Pablo Honey, recorded in just 2 weeks, Radiohead saw their first record get decent reviews and their first big, possibly the biggest and most famous song, Creep. They will end up hating that song, by the way, doing actual weird stuff during MTV Beach House 1993. Do not Google that, that was the worst mistake of my life. Pablo Honey is to this day arguably the worst Radiohead album, even though some might say their worst record is The King of Limbs. And since the Radiohead fanbase is really particular to say the least, they treat Creep and Pablo Honey as a joke, to the point that they despise people who think Creep is a good song. Hey, do you know Radiohead? It's my favorite band. Yes, Creep is one of my favorite songs overall. Ha! Imagine having personal music taste. Pablo Honey has some really good songs in it, like Anyone Can Play Guitar or Stop Whispering, or as I like to call it, Stop Singing Tom, Your Songs Are Bad! Wait, what's that? Holy shit, that guy's sneezing, watch out! The Bands! The second Radiohead album, and it has a song that talks about Creep. With the Bands, Radiohead really step up their game, with lyrics being slightly more cryptic even though they were still personal, more keyboards and more heavy guitars, moving away from the grungy sound of Pablo Honey. The Bands was received definitely better than Pablo Honey, and rightfully so. The standout for me is Black Star. Wait, what? Not that one. That's Bowie's best album. I mean, Black Star, the Radiohead song, you know? Black Star is a really emotional song that talks about the struggles of being in a relationship with someone who suffers from mental illness and not being able to understand them. If you haven't listened to that song, do it, because it's definitely worth. Since The Bands was a success, peaking at number 4 in the UK albums chart and being in there for a considerable amount of time, they are definitely not gonna change drastically their music No! OK Computer was released. OK Computer is, according to a lot of fans, the best Radiohead album. Being self-produced, OK Computer completely distances itself from the heavy guitar-centered The Bands to put out something that had not been heard before. Their label record at the time, Parlophone, just wanted The Band's Part 2 to make profits, but Radiohead just said no. Including Sad Car Song, the song that's always in films, and Tom York doesn't really like birthday gifts. Yeah, that's, I made for my Instagram page some time ago. OK Computer was a major success. The sound was completely different, the lyrics and the themes were completely different, and there's one really important thing to notice. Tom York's sense of humor is really weird. Oh, and also there is a song with a synthesized voice basically telling us slogans of the 90s, and the song ends up saying we are pigs in a cage on antibiotics. Definitely not a creepy song. After a 1-year-long tour called the Against Demons Tour, Radiohead members were completely drained, especially Tom York, who started suffering from writer's block, to the point he started listening almost only electronic music, and after changing the history of rock and inspiring a lot of the groups we listen today, including Muse and Coldplay, Tom York became disillusioned with rock's mythology and said, "You know what? Our next album should go blip bloop and feature mostly electronic instruments." Now, imagine playing the guitar, releasing one of the most acclaimed rock albums ever, and suddenly you have no guitar to play in your band songs. Luckily, after more than 1 year of working on the album, they figured everything out and they completed over 20 songs. They would save half of the songs for their next album and include the other half in what is possibly the biggest change of music style a band ever did, Kid A. Kid A is a very dark and almost claustrophobic album, but what I think is more interesting are the lyrics, because we go to completely weird stuff like "Yesterday I woke up sucking a lemon" in "Everything in its Right Place," to banal observations like "Where did you park your car" in Morning Bell, and even depicting a Holocaust as well as a global warming in Idiotech. The album will end up receiving mixed reviews, some being positive, some being extremely harsh, even though after some times critics recognized the importance of Kid A and its legacy for the music. From a commercial standpoint, it was a success, debuting at number 1 in the UK, in USA, in Canada, France, Ireland, and New Zealand. After Kid A, Radiohead released two albums, Amnesiac in 2001 and Hail to the Thief in 2003. Amnesiac, including the songs that were not included in Kid A, not to be considered as a Kid A B-sides or anything like that, has a song about doors, for some reason, and Hail to the Thief, an album wrote in response to the insurgence of right-wing politics in the West, has a song where Thom Yorke says no 42 times. Yeah, only Radiohead could put the word no in a song 42 times and make it work. After a 4-year hiatus from Hail to the Thief, Radiohead would come back and change the music industry once again, releasing In Rainbows in 2007, a record that was very different from their last one. Hail to the Thief was a very hungry and very political record, while In Rainbows has very little anger in it, and it focuses on the fear of passing away. Ah, Radiohead albums, always cheering me up when I'm sad. What's really interesting, though, is that the album was free! From the 10th of October to the 10th of December 2007, the album was available for download with a pay what you want, even nothing formula. A physical copy of the CD was also available on the site, and all of this was the first of its kind for a major act such as Radiohead. After 4 other years, The King of Limbs was released. Radiohead moved away once again from what they did with their previous album and created a moody, rhythm-heavy electronic album. Radiohead's producer, Nigel Godrich, said the results of the recording sessions were a huge and gigantic mess, and maybe that's why some fans consider it worse than Pablo Honey, and the reviews were not as good as the previous albums. The remix of King of Limbs was a thing, called TKOL Army X 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and reviews were average. It just was a poorly done experiment. 5 years later, Radiohead would just disappear from the internet, and that is not a joke. After sending weird embossed cards on the 30th of April to fans who had previously ordered something from them, the band deleted all of their posts on Twitter and Facebook, and the band's website became just a blank page. Did someone say how to disappear completely? A couple of days later, Radiohead released the first single of the album, Burn the Witch, and on June, their 9th studio album was released, A Moon-Shaped Pool. The album is sad, really sad, with the lyrics likely being heavily influenced by Thom Yorke's split from his partner, Rachel Owen. For the rest, the album just follows the same pattern of every other one we said in the video, except for the King of Limbs. Great reviews, great commercial success, out of crying while listening to the album. Just what would you expect from a Radiohead album? Currently, Radiohead are on a hiatus. Are we gonna have a new Radiohead album? When will we have it? The question remains unanswered as I'm recording the video. I guess we just have to wait. Stay safe out there.